Welcome back, loves. Look, it is a beautiful day here in Maine. So I hope that wherever you are listening to this, that it's also a beautiful day for you. And even if the weather's bad, it can still be a beautiful day. Okay. You can find some things to make your day beautiful, whether that be thoughts or places you visit, messages you listen to, maybe this podcast, hint, hint. Anyhow, let me move on. Today, we're talking about loneliness and how I address loneliness in my therapy sessions, and I want to be clear that loneliness is not a thing that you can diagnose. As with most of the things I see in my practice, because of the issue, whatever the presenting issue is, people might have some symptoms of depression, anxiety, so on and so forth. They might have things that are activated from their past as a result of whatever their current life experience is. So, this is my sweet spot in therapy, taking the things that don't really have an outline treatment plan in any kind of therapy book, but you can find ways to navigate it in therapy with specific adjustments to your behavior, adjustments to your thought process. So, first, what I would do is I would hear the person's story. And by the way, during the pandemic, I heard a lot about loneliness. Now, I will say that my more introverted clients were so happy that they got to just stay home and they were not expected to go out. They were not expected to communicate with too many people, especially in their place of employment. They were happy that they did not have to step foot through some double doors and use all of their energy, exert all of their energy that they had saved up for their private time on their coworkers and on their supervisors and in meetings and out of meetings. So they were happy to be working online remotely. And for some people, loneliness looks different, right? So anyhow, I first hear the story. What's going on? What's making you feel like you're lonely? And then sometimes we do a reframe too. Are you lonely or are you just feeling alone? Because sometimes you can be in partnership with someone. Say you're married, you're dating, whatever the case may be, you're booed up and you can still feel alone, feeling booed up. I have had that experience before. And it's important at that point to talk to whomever your partner is and your friend group. If you're like, look, no, I'm not dating and I don't want to be dating and I feel lonely in my friend group because maybe other people have deeper connections than they have made with you. Maybe there hasn't been any intention put around how you navigate that friendship when there's a big move and now you live in different states, right? So loneliness can appear in so many different ways. And again, I have been lonely. You know that Brandy song, Broken Hearted? Historically, that was my jam in college. One of my girlfriends could tell you that because I just used to sing it over and over. I'm so lonely, brokenhearted, because that's where I was. I was depressed. I was not dating at that time, and I felt lonely. And more so, I had moved from Hammond, Louisiana to Boulder, Colorado. So, of course, I felt lonely. So, again, it had nothing to do, well, something to do with not being booed up, right? When people are around you and they're dating, you want to date too sometimes. It was more so, I'm homesick. I miss my family. I don't see my sister every day. We're not bickering the way we used to because we're not talking on the phone that often because I'm in college and I'm always studying. So that loneliness looked differently. Okay. So, anyways, I want to hear the story. I want to hear where exactly is this loneliness coming from? How connected are you in your personal life? How connected are you in your career life too? Maybe you own your own business like myself and you're the only person in the business. That can feel lonely at times. And so even after I record this podcast, I'm going to go have lunch with a clinician that I met at an event here in Maine, actually at my kids' school's open house. So she's a therapist who's based in the schools. And we got to talking and said, let's have lunch, right? So that helps with my feeling of loneliness. I've been married for 14 years. I have 2 kids. I can still feel lonely at times, right? So some of the things that I'm going to tell you in this episode, I think will be really helpful no matter what stage of life you're in, no matter if you're booed up or not. Maybe you're working in your business solo, or maybe you have a few people in your business. Maybe you work at a full-time place of employment, but you still, on some level, experience some loneliness. Okay. So I'm going to hear that story. I'm going to validate you. I really love for people to feel connected. So when people don't, I do a lot of validation in therapy. And then I want to know, what have they tried? And oftentimes people will tell me, oh, nothing. I'm just sitting in my loneliness. They don't quite say it that way, but we kind of laugh about it. Like, oh, so you're just sitting at home lonely, just sitting at home lonely. So you're doing nothing about it. You're just sitting at home. And again, sometimes you might, because maybe this has led to some depression. Maybe there's some additional life circumstances that have you feeling really down. So you don't have the energy to take action and go get connected, right? So what I'm going to do after I get an understanding of what you have tried, we're going to understand where the gaps are. Okay, so you haven't tried, let's just say for the purposes of this episode, you haven't tried anything. I want to know, what are you open to trying? So I'm going to share different strategies, right? I had joined a book club in Tampa to work on my connection with people. And that was very helpful for me, meeting new people, having a shared common interest. Maybe you're a person who has hobbies, or maybe you used to have a hobby and you don't have it anymore. Whether or not you play football, like to crochet, maybe you like book reading, maybe you like skydiving. I used to have a friend who was a professional skydiver when I lived in Rhode Island. So that was pretty cool. That was her thing. It was an adrenaline rush for her and she enjoyed it. And taking people out on those dives, she got paid for it, and she also had built a really nice community based off of that work and that connection. So I love that for her. So whatever you're not doing, we're going to explore what you're willing to do. And here's the key to that. It's very gentle with the action taking. I'm not pushing you to do anything because I understand that you may have anxiety you have to navigate, and or again, you may have some depressive symptoms. So sometimes you might need a referral to a psychiatrist or a psychiatric nurse practitioner to get those symptoms under control before you can seek connection, or while you seek connection, right? You don't have to put life on hold just because you need some medication. You just might need a little bit of extra help. So then we're going to look at your connection currency. And that's a cool term I found on the internet. So I thought I would include that in here. I had never heard of it, but what can you personally use to build connection? What are your unique skills, passions, interests? For me, if it's something around mental health, I'm in. I never got big into connecting with people over book reading, but that was something I entertained in Tampa. And I found a silent book club here where I'm at in Maine. And so I'm going to entertain that soon when they have their next meetup and just see what it's about, because there's a connection piece before and afterwards where you get to talk to people. Yeah. What are your unique skills, passions, interests? Maybe you like cooking. Maybe you could start a baking club, or maybe there's some sort of baking club at the library. I know the local library here, they have a kids cooking class, and my kids took a culinary camp over the summer. How cool is that, right? So now, not only were they already cooking at home with me and helping with different meals and recipes when we get our HelloFresh boxes, but they took this culinary camp. So now when they talk to other kids who talk about cooking, they bring that home. Just this morning, my son said, "Hey, maybe we can do some no-bake cookies at some point." And I said, "Well, why don't we celebrate the first week of school by baking some no-bake cookies?" I guess not baking. You know what I mean. Anyhow, what can we do to build connection? That's a form of after school connection for me and my kids. We can bake together. We can cook something. They helped me do some yams the other day to go with our greens and cornbread and our veggie meat. We're vegetarian. So there's that. But whatever your unique skills, passions, and interests are, we're going to explore those in therapy and see if we can identify things in your community that you can tap into to start building connection. And sometimes you have to start your own thing. That would be very hard to do if you're battling depression, right? So that's why we got to get the other symptoms under control sometimes before you take action on these things. And that's okay. Next, we're going to explore self-compassion, because a lot of times when people feel lonely, they feel like it's them. It's something wrong with me. I'm the issue, right? I don't have connection because I'm a bad person, or I'm not a good person, or maybe I'm not likable. People don't gravitate towards me. Look, I have talked to people in therapy about, this was around dating specifically, but people saying, "Oh, I don't attract people because I'm overweight." And I have to gently challenge that. And I'm like, "Nah, I don't know that it's the weight." And I just kind of reflect back to people who they are. I'm like, you show up to these sessions with high energy. You're a beautiful person inside and out. This seems like, when I talk to you, it sounds like it's a self-confidence thing, right? And what do you know? As soon as they work on their self-confidence, well, you cannot stop them from attracting someone. Friendships, platonic and intimate partners, because now your energy is giving off like, I'm available for connection. I'm happy with me, who I am right now. And people like that. People are attracted to it. People are attracted to smiles in general, okay? I know this because I smile a lot. People give me that feedback, and I just love to spread joy. So I'm going to keep smiling at people. It helps me connect with the people in the grocery line. It helps me connect when I enter a new space. So this, use your skills and unique personal assets to your advantage, okay? If you have a great smile, use it. If you know how to cook, use it. If you don't know how to cook and you're willing to learn, go to a cooking class, build connection, okay? Last thing is quality over quantity. And I am going to make this the last thing because I need to head out to this lunch. I don't want you to think about how many things can I fill my schedule up with to deal with this loneliness. One, that's overwhelming. Two, you may not be able to fully absorb the experience within each unique thing that you try out. If you're doing like 4 things in 1 week, maybe you try 1 or 2 new things a week or 1 or 2 new spaces a week, and you really give yourself time to think, how did it feel being there? Did the connections feel real? Were people approaching me? Was I challenging myself to approach people? If you have too many things going on, it will be a little more challenging to kind of intuitively connect with people in the moment. And so try not to overwhelm yourself, okay? Hopefully, these things were helpful for you. Again, it's a shorter episode. This is how I would handle loneliness in therapy sessions. And again, these more recent podcast episodes will be very minimally edited. So you're really getting my full personality. Okay. I hope you enjoy that. Let me know what your thoughts are on loneliness in the comment section. Are you lonely right now? What are you doing about it? Are you willing to take some of these tips and apply it to your loneliness and see if it helps you build connection? I want to know in the comment section wherever you're listening to this. If you are on YouTube, I encourage you to subscribe. If you're on the other platforms, I encourage you to follow and or subscribe the podcast and feel free to share it with others. I almost forgot. Will you consider therapy? If you're dealing with loneliness, if it's something that's really bothering you and you don't feel like you have enough support in life, will you consider working through therapy to understand your loneliness, understand what symptoms are attached to it, and really work on some skills to close that gap so you can build connection in your personal and professional life? Are you willing to do that? Let me know that in the comment section too. All right, I'll talk to you next time. The Anxiety and Free podcast is sponsored by Find My Therapist, connecting you with therapists at findmytherapist.us. If you found today's episode helpful, please share it with someone who might need it. Tune in next week for more conversations on navigating mental health and finding your freedom.